And good morning. It is Thursday. Me and Odie were just discussing as you get older and how manual labor just isn't as fun anymore. You ache for days. And I'll warn you this, anybody that is thinking, boy, spring is coming, let me put some sod down. Oh, that goes easy for about that first 3-4 hours, and about day 2 after that.
Green side?
Yeah, you better be hunting some Excedrin quickly. Man, that stuff hurts a few days later. And it's all, I guess, about those muscles and things that you don't normally use. So be cautious as spring nears and you think you're a spring chicken. That's what we're getting at.
That's right.
And sometimes being a spring chicken, you still hurt. We got so much to do today. We're going to tell you about what is up and coming. We got a lot of political guests this morning. I hope you'll join us at 7 for that. Cooler, and I need to mention this also as we pull up radar this morning. We do now have in effect a freeze warning that's going in effect until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We got cold weather, frost moving in tonight. 31 degrees is what is expected. Now, that gives you enough time today to cover up your plants and ferns, whatever you've got sitting outside as you're getting ready for Easter. We don't want anything to happen to those, so keep it in mind, plan ahead, stay ahead of this. It's only a 24-hour period. It's going to be We'll be back to some warmer weather. We got your complete forecast up and coming. We're going to be talking about what's going on around the nation. I see Richard's up this morning. Good to see Miss Ann joining us. Barry, hi there. Also Steve and Lillian. So many of you up and at 'em. We're going to have coffee rolling in a few moments as we get together with this. It's going to be fun. Let's go to Collins now. Let's get our good word, our little devotional of the day.
Have you ever been told or told someone else to mind your own business? We can say that to someone out of frustration when we think they're meddling in our affairs or getting too personal. And when someone says that to us, it can catch us off guard. And we could take offense or maybe even get our feelings hurt. Actually, minding your own business is very biblical. The Apostle Paul tells the church in Thessalonica, he tells them this in 1 Thessalonians 4:11 when he is instructing them on how to live in community as a church. He simply says, make it your ambition to mind your own business. Just before, in verses 9 and 10, he talks about loving each other and learning to do that more and more. You just can't love people too much, but we need to learn to allow for personal space. Part of loving each other is knowing when we might be meddling in our brother or sister's personal affairs. This is a show of respect as much as it is anything. It's good to ask questions about how people are doing or to follow up on something that's been going on. And when we've earned the right or grown close enough to that person, we can even ask tough questions to help hold someone accountable. But we need to know where it is that someone has drawn that line that says, this is my personal space. Avoiding the crossing of that line will send a message that we love and respect that person enough to know when we might be getting a little too personal. Let's make it our own ambition to mind our own business. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Our friend Smokey the Bear tells us it's best we not burn today. Here's why. We have a level 2 in the Jackson area down to Laurel, level 1 in the Meridian area. Extra caution. Don't do any burning today. We're going to have some gusts today. Somewhere around 30 miles an hour up to that. Sustained winds 10 to 15 up to 30 with those gusts. We don't want you to have something get out of hand. Firefighters are begging you not to. So we'll watch that carefully also, then get into the forecast in a moment as to what all is happening with that. How do you feel today? That's most important, isn't it? As we scramble around and try to get going. I was telling Odie it took me a minute to get going there. Ellie, she was all about getting up because she knew it was snack time this morning at 3. I could have stayed just a few more minutes, but she was convincing that I must get up. As we move to headlines this morning, what's going on? MSNBC had to make an apology yesterday. And if I'm pronouncing her name right, Tulsi Gabbard, y'all remember her? She used to be from Hawaii. Oh, they had to make a apology about that as they got in to say that what they were claiming was she said that Donald Trump and the Russian President Putin were best friends. She did not say that, and they had to retract the statement that was said. but that hurt. If you make a mistake, just clearly say it. Maybe they got carried away. Maybe they did it on purpose. Who knows? But they did make a public apology on television and say they didn't mean to do that. Did y'all remember us talking about the story of the man that had been held captive for 20 years by his stepmother in a basement? Y'all remember hearing that? 20 years. That's almost like Cruella de Vil, was it not? Oh, yeah. They've put up a fundraiser, and so far they've raised $100,000 for this man. That's good. I'm sure he's going to need it after 20 years not being able to leave, do anything. That's a sad, sad situation. What makes a person want to do that to another? You truly, and it doesn't necessarily mean a bigger city, but you just never know what lies next door in the basement, do you? How many times have we heard those stories of, well, he's been my neighbor for 30 years. I never suspected it. It happens. Yesterday, outside the CIA headquarters in Washington, in Virginia, a man got out waving a gun. Apparently pointed it at himself a couple of times. Authorities moved in. It took a couple hours to get a hold of the situation. Eventually, he was arrested without incident. No word yet why he was there, what he was up to. Usually they're pretty shook up in the mind, if you know where I'm going with that. But he was taken into custody without incident. The Vatican giving us an update on the Pope this morning. They're saying that he no longer needs help breathing, mechanical help, as an event, that he's on his own there. We do wish him a well recovery. I'm not sure even if he recovers 100% that he would step down as Pope. I think most stay until the end. He's had a pretty rough time there, been in with the hospital a little over a month now. We'll see how his health gets over the next few days. He's not getting out just yet. It is our human nature to want to help someone that's down on their luck. One of the biggest things that we've got in America right now, every city has this, and that is the homeless. Meridian has a huge, huge problem with it. I'm sure if you're watching from another town, your town has got it as well. California may be at the top of the worst of the circumstances. A sheriff's deputy on his day off was helping the homeless, doing what he felt was right. He was stabbed, attacked by a homeless guy. We do wish him a recovery there. That's tough. That's tough. And it doesn't matter whether you're a civilian, police, they will do what they do. A lot of times it's bad people among there. We hadn't gotten a report as to who actually did it. Were they criminals? What was the case? We don't know. There could be something to this. I don't know. Whistleblowers. Every now and then somebody has to step up and go, something is not right. We remember Edward Snowden, where he risked all, been banned from the United States for telling what he thought was right. The Boeing whistleblower, do you know what I'm talking about that? Who called it out? He eventually took his own life from pressure and things at work where they were ridiculing, is what I think the note actually said. His family now is suing Boeing over it. Do they stand a chance? I don't know how this stuff works in court over something like this. I'm sure at some point in the US of A that somebody has done this before, took their own life, and then the family sues someone they think is responsible for them doing it. He said it was harassment, abuse, and intimidation is what I think he'd put in his note. It's still sad either way. I don't know how that will end in court, though. We almost need Nick here, need the judge there when we don't know these things to answer these things. Let's see. How do you feel about this? Amazon. How many of you ever bought anything from there? I bet it's a big portion of the audience who have bought something or had someone order it for you through Amazon, even if you don't know how to use a computer and do that. Amazon is suing Consumer Product Safety Commission over recall letters. What they are saying is that Amazon is responsible for these recalls. And they're just saying, hang on a second, we're just a third party that distributes it. We're a distributor. We should not be sued over this, and we shouldn't have to eat any of this cost. It's headed to court. We'll see what becomes of that also. A few things that we just don't know how they'll turn out. We'll wait to see what a judge does on that. Arizona, they have executed a death row prisoner after 2 years, first one in 2 years that they have done. His name was Gunches, if I am reading that. Aaron Brian Grunches. He was 53. He was given lethal injection and passed away. He was pronounced at 10:33 a.m. What he had done, we never know why criminals do this. He, if I'm understanding it right, he kidnapped back in 2002, I believe is when it happened. He kidnapped his ex-wife's boyfriend, ended up killing the guy. He did plead guilty to first-degree murder on it. He paid the price for that. Anybody ever watch Happy Gilmore?
Love
it. To me, if golf was that way, I'd probably watch it each time. It's rather very quiet and boring. Yeah. To watch it, maybe it's different on the greens. I've never actually played. I held a club once, but watching it on television is like watching a Buick Rush to me. Some of you may agree, some of you may not. But do you remember the scene in that to where the guy tried to steal the gold? It was a yellow jacket, wasn't it? A gold jacket, yeah. And he tried to run with it. Y'all remember that? It was Shooter, wasn't that his name?
Shooter.
Yeah, Shooter. A Georgia man has been sentenced. This is no kidding now. He's been sentenced to 1 year in jail for the theft of Arnold Palmer's green jacket and other master memorabilia. Shame, shame. He didn't run. He actually, I think, worked at a warehouse and stole this stuff. He gets a year in jail for it. And I don't see where people are upset over this, because this is coming. As we brought up Happy Gilmore, as we all know that there's going to be a part 2 after 30 years, a new show is coming out. There's some people claiming to be upset because it's not going to be in theaters. It's going to be shot and shipped directly to Netflix. Like it or not, theaters and things like that will eventually be cut out by direct links to you and your computer or your phone. Same way with new television shows. That is coming. That is your future. Things are changing as people adjust all of this. Technology changes everything. Look at the way radio is done. Look at the way back in the day newspapers were handled. You had to wait. Now they're mailed. And if the mail gets there on time, you may know what's happening this week or next week. They're in a declining era. Sears Roebuck catalog. Who would have ever thunk that would have went away? Technology changes things. Whoop, Columbia University is taking a step back going, President, you're right. We'd like to have our $400 million back, and we will comply with what you're asking. Columbia University moving ahead with that. He meant it when he said, I'll take your funding away. And he did. Anybody ever known anybody that spent a little time in jail? And I'm assuming here, I only know this by watching it. Y'all know I'm going to say this wrong. The Shawshank Redemption, did I say it right? Mm-hmm. To where, what was the guy, the librarian, that had, I think the word they used was institutionalized, to where life on the outside was just not what they thought. They were used to, you got to be here, you got to be there, and someone kind of taking care of them. Well, maybe that's the case with this serial bank robber. He'd been in jail, got out in February. Now, on the side, he was a crime author. He wrote detective books, crime books. He went and robbed 2 banks. He's headed back to jail again. That almost sounds like what his problems were. I don't know, maybe he had read some of his books. So what was the name of his King of Detroit, The Good Life, Going All Out, and Born to Die was the name of a few of his books there. Back to jail he will go. Good luck with that. Maybe he'll enjoy himself this time. Let's see what else is happening this morning here. Let's see. Boy, this is just doesn't make sense, somebody doing this as we look at this. We have a failed candidate. But as we'll have some candidates this morning in a little while talking about running for office, this guy took it very serious. He went and shot at the folks that he lost to. New Mexico is where that happened. He was a Republican, too. Didn't work out. That
happened national election, too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. National election. He's going to jail. I got another case of this. We got another guy, a Minnesota state senator. Have y'all read about this? They got these laws that says if you're over, the age of 18, you can't date people that are
Right.
younger than that. It was one of those. What was the show that they used to have years ago to where they'd set it up, the sting operation?
Still on.
It is on?
Yeah, Dateline.
Dateline, and they'd wait in the other room, and here you come. And they'd come out and go, you're under arrest, you've done this. It happened to a Minnesota state senator. He was texting a 17-year-old who was really a 30-year-old cop. I saw the pictures. He was in the back of the patrol car. He ain't going to be passing laws, and they're also saying you need to go ahead and resign now. He should. You don't need to be a representative doing things like that. And I think most Americans would agree with that also. Shame, shame. Let's see here. Oh, I don't really know a lot about gangs. I see a lot of things that happen that are gang related, but I've always been told by most everyone, the guy that is ahead of this, you're not going to know that. He's the guy that's in the community. He's a community leader. He does something and comes off as the most nicest guy you'll ever meet. That's what I've always been told. I don't know any heads of it, but boy, we go to L.A. for our headline here. He was posing as a music, do you pronounce it mogul? Mogul. He was that good guy that done so much for the community. Oop, he's going to jail. The feds have got him. Racketeering, murder, the list goes on and on that he's been doing for years. And he was that good guy that gave to charities. So you thought. Now, I'm not saying go out and blame somebody in our community. I'm just saying it could be there. Odie's biting his tongue over here wanting to say name. Don't you say a name, Odie. It's okay to think it. Just don't say it out loud. That was in Los Angeles there. Man alive. There's bad in this world, isn't it? Let's see here. Somebody's going to go to jail over this. This is just downright mean. I remember this not long ago in another thing to where they put out people's names. We have a guy that built a website, and why does his name come up every morning that I can't pronounce? Is it Tesla? Am I close? Tesla. A guy built a website that listed every owner of a Tesla. Did I say it right? No. It's Tesla?
Yes, Tesla.
Man, that's a tough word for me. But anyway, he put up a website where you could, with their personal information, to where you could track them down who owned one. And what he's after, we know this nationwide, how this is going on right now, where they're attacking car dealerships and people that own these cars to burn them. He'll get in trouble over that when you don't do that. Ooh, that was a bad one. We'll just go on. Do you know the plane crash that happened in Alaska not long ago? You know what brought that plane down? You ever got on a plane and they go, how much do you weigh? We need that. Yeah. Well, they mean it. Somebody sort of forgot to do this. It was overweight. They had too much baggage, and the plane could not stay up with all the ice. Brought the plane down. 10 people died over that. So the next time, they're not just trying to find out how much you weigh. They really mean that. They want to keep you safe. If you've ever been on, especially on a private plane, your major airlines don't ask you that much. But if you ever fly a private plane, the pilot will come to you and want to know, what do you approximately weigh? What's that luggage weigh you got? Your wife's luggage weighs 238 pounds. Y'all know how that is.
They got to calculate the fuel usage.
Yes, sir. That fuel, how much it burns, that weight affects it. And that plane just couldn't handle it, and it went down.
That comedian said, fill it up.
Yeah. I really haven't gotten anything out of this so far when it comes to the JFK files that have been released. We do know this at this point, that John F. Kennedy did not trust the CIA. That's really all that's come out of it. Again, we've said over and over, you're not going to find out what really happened in these files. The truth is never written down. People that do bad things don't document it. They're pretty good at hiding it. That's how they get away with it for so many years. Grassy knoll, shovel in the desert. Now, we can't prove that, but a hunch tells us. I think Barnaby Jones could have solved this case. They just wouldn't let him. Y'all know he could have. Let's see what else is happening this morning. Let's see. I wanted to skip over here. What do we have here going on? Today, this is one of the big things that will happen, and then we'll get to weather. Be looking for this. How this will affect the nation, I do not know. I cannot say this is good. I can't say that it's bad. But we do know that the president is getting ready to sign an executive order today dismantling the Department of Education. I do not know the effects of this. There are some in favor of it, some that are against it. What will replace it? I think it has a lot to do with going back to the states, for those states making decisions as what's best for their state. We'll see. With any agency, we all know that sometimes it gets a little out of hand. Did somebody say Congress?
Yeah.
Oh, my heavens. Go in making $100,000 a year, come out $80 million richer a few years later. America knows better. Can it be fixed? I'm not sure. Y'all hang close. We're going to be right back with our weather forecast to find out what today's going to be.
We welcome you to a new vehicle buying experience here at Doc's Toyota. Buying a new vehicle doesn't have to be stressful, but don't just take our word for it.
This was the best experience I've ever had buying a vehicle.
Doc's employees are top-notch.
I drove 2 hours, not once, but twice, to purchase 2 vehicles with a 5-month time frame.
Doc's delivers competitive pricing, a comprehensive selection, and flexible financing options, helping you get on the road from Carthage, Meridian, and beyond. There's a reason why there's no deal like a Doc's deal.
Sip and savor, man, that's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah.
We always take our picture. That's kind of like our Dollywood picture. We do one each year in front of the sign.
As long as we can get upstairs, too.
Yeah. Maybe I won't be thrown out this year. Inside joke. You'd have had to been there. That's been happening a lot.
Yeah, it has.
You go to opening your mouth and telling the truth. Next thing you know, people don't want you places. Hey, I was greeted nicely at the city council this time. I wasn't jumped on. Ooh, I'm moving up in the world. What's next? I don't know. Let's get into our forecast now.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
As we go back for our record highs and our record lows, we will see. Let me hit the right button here. Back in 1907, it was a warm day, 89. Back in 23, 2 years ago? 25, I really don't remember it being 25, but my age is getting me as well. Now let's go over a few things from the National Weather Service that they've updated since I came in this morning. A few things changed since early this morning at 3. Let me get back over here to my slot and show you what they've got. I mentioned to you that there is now fire danger today, elevated, as we'll show here that they're putting out a level 1 for Meridian. We have a level 2 for the Jackson area. Anything east of Forest, Mississippi, back toward the state line is a level 1, which means extra caution, no open burning, and fires more likely to escape in these controlled burned areas over toward Jackson. And again, a controlled burn does not mean that nothing's going to happen. I want y'all to remember that. Gusty winds today. Look at this. Mainly morning to about early afternoon. It'll calm down there at dark, we hope. Tonight, get out them flannel PJs because you're going to need them. We're down to 31 as we will have, you got it, a freeze warning threat tonight. Temps will fall to about 31 in the Meridian area is what we're expecting. Now, the ante has been upped on Sunday afternoon. We're going to have severe weather again. We could spend an afternoon together. We never know. We're at a level 2 now for Sunday, which means slight risk, damaging wind gusts. Hell, they have not brought up tornadic activity with this one. We'll watch this. Anything can change, but we're expecting severe wind storms with it. Again, when it's a few days out, you just never know what's going to happen. So we urge you to check back, follow us, and we'll let you know what becomes of this as it gets closer and closer to that time. All right, let's see what's happening over in Alabama. We do show that today will be somewhere around 55 there in Demopolis, 49 up around Anniston, and as we get down to Troy, Alabama, about 58. The further north you go, a little bit chillier that it gets. Let's see what else we've got happening today. Here's the overall look as we look across the U.S. as to, that's not working right. Let me show you. Here we are. As we look at this, there we go. Above average out west. Right now, we're kind of normal on this east side of Mississippi. But as we look at our 7-day forecast, here we go. 58 is the best we're going to get today. Now, that temperature has been changing. It's dropped to 31 for tonight. By tomorrow, we're up to 68 to end the week. But look at the weekend. It's nice. 76 on Saturday. We'll see 79 on Sunday. Slight chance of showers in the afternoon, but you still make it into the church. You won't get wet. Carry that umbrella. And then later that evening is when we'll have that threat of severe weather after church is over. By Monday, we're up to 70, and then temperatures start to climb back up, 75, 76, as we jump all the way to the end of the month, 80 degrees on March 31st. Anybody ready for April Fool's Day? Well, it's going to be 80 with a low of 56 that night. Only a 20% chance of rain on April Fool's Day. Oh, let's see, 82 by the 3rd there. We sure do think that groundhog may have missed this whole thing. What about fishing? For those of you getting up, wanting to go somewhere and throw a lure, today that north wind's going to be 15 to 20 sustained, and again, gusting to 30 miles an hour. Your major time will be this afternoon, 4:45. Believe it or not, it'll still be daylight. Shockingly, it will be. And you can fish to about 7 o'clock, still daylight at then. Sunset will happen at 7:06 this evening. Sunrise will happen here in just a few minutes at 6:58. Boy, we're pushing it. We've got to break away to get ready for the morning show, don't we? A big thank you to WMOX Radio for joining us this morning. We do appreciate that. And maybe we learned something. Bill will be around for you here in a little bit. We're getting ready for the morning show. Coffee pot is brewing in our place. Get yours ready. Sit back. A lot of special guests coming up this morning. We're going to talk city council. It's right around the corner. Important to go vote on this. We'll be right back in a moment as we'll kick off the Scotty Ray Report.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners.